All right, next section, we will be doing SQL aggregate functions. It's going to be sweet. So, these will be things like sum, average, count, min, and max. All right, so first, a query to display the sum of amounts paid that are greater than $5.99. So we'll have select sum amount, and then we will say we want that to come from payment where the amount is greater than $5.99. We'll highlight that, let it run, and that is a lot of amount, but that's the total sum of all of our sales above $5.99. So about $20,000, which is pretty neat. So one row, and it did not take a lot of time for it to add all that together, which is neat. SQL is really fast. It's one of the nice parts about it. If data is slow, that's obviously a problem. Some people could probably afford to be a bit more patient, but you know, it's still not good if it takes a really long time for your data to come. So fast languages and fast queries are valuable. All right, up next, a query to display the average of amounts paid greater than $5.99. So this time we'll do basically the same thing. Select average amount from payment where the amount is greater than $5.99. And we can run this one. Let's make sure we syntax. Okay, the average sale that was over $5.99 was $8.08. So that's cool too. Good to know, right? Especially if you're making business decisions and you're saying, hey, just FYI, like, you know, people who have to make the decisions, because usually like a data scientist's job and data people in general, their jobs would be to like look at this kind of thing. The analysts would be look at this kind of thing and then go back and talk to people who, you know, make actual decisions for the company, the people who are like in charge of the finances, things like that, and say, hey, just letting you guys know, the marketing department, right? The marketing department wants to say, hey, what are our really popular products? What are people buying lots of? What can we really encourage people to spend more on, so on and so forth. Like you'd be able to tell them like, hey, these are the things that people are buying lots of. This is the average, all this other stuff. This is where the stuff comes into play in real life. And very, very reasonable kind of stuff to do. Works out pretty well. All right. So finding the average amount that people are spending over a certain amount or that kind of thing. A query to display the count of amounts paid greater than $5.99. So this one will again be select count amount from payment. Let's do it on one line just for fun, feeling spicy, where the amount is greater than $5.99. And we can run that. And about 2,428 values come back for our total number of payments greater than $5.99. Cool. So now you got a whole lot of information about what your sales were like for people that spent more than about $6. Can be very useful. Query to display the minimum amount greater than $7.99. And oh wait, one more before we do that. Halt. So we'll have the distinct amounts paid. So like how many kinds of payments were there, right? And we'll see this in our little results box there. Query to display the count of distinct amounts paid greater than $5.99. So this one will be select count distinct amount. I'm not sure how I feel about these hotkeys on here. I don't like that either. From payment where amount is greater than $5.99. This will also work. 9 different kinds. Great. Cool. Like I said, it works the same regardless of how we arrange it. So, neat. 9 different kinds of count. Alrighty, so that was our distinct amount. And again, that's the different types, right? So like if $6 is one, right, that would be the first thing. And then if like somebody else had a sale at $7.99, that would be another one. $8.99, that would be three, right? So each different price level that gets a purchase over $5.99 gets one value in this, and it counts how many different kinds of items get returned when it checks the count of the amounts, or checks the amounts in the payment. All right, so that's distinct amounts. Now we are on the minimum amount now. Query to display min amount greater than $7.99. And this will be select min amount as min num payments. So we're saving it to a variable here from payment where the amount is greater than $7.99. Let's check this out, see what it does. Woo! All right, so our min num payments value here, our column, is $8.97. So that is the new value for this piece of data here. We're gonna do the same thing with max to display max amount greater than $7.99. And this will be the same deal, but this time instead we're gonna just replace min with max. Easy enough to just copy paste here. Scroll down a bit so we can see. We'll use max, and we're gonna say this as max num payments, and run this query. And $11.99 is the most expensive sale that we had on our stuff. And again, this is a table for a film rental. If you hadn't figured out, like a video rental store, I think these things still existed in 2013 when this database was made. But it works well for us. We have data that we can parse through, that we can look through, and you can see how for businesses like this is extremely valuable, and for social media, like collecting all this data and arranging it for Netflix and other businesses like that, Spotify, right? They want to know what the most popular. I mean, it's useful to have this data, right? What's the most popular song that Beyonce has, right? And you can look at that. Cool. But then, like, Spotify will also know things like how long you listened to that song for, right? And that gets fed to the algorithm, the function that says what stuff does user unique ID number. What do they like, right? Well, they like the beginnings of songs, but then they get bored in the middle. Well, what is, and they keep all the musical data too, right? For Spotify, right? Like, oh, well, once the drums came in, then they liked it much better, or whatever. That's all stuff that they keep in mind. It's an insane amount of data that they're collecting and parsing through. So, there we go. So that was the min and max. Now we are on all of the amounts. And we're going to be doing something called grouping by here in a moment. So we're going to do select, here we go, demo of group by. So here we're just going to do select amount from payment where the amount is equal to $7.99. Run that. We get a whole bunch of stuff back, right? Okay, so 619 values total. Okay, which is a lot, and it's going to take a really long time to read through. But what if we grouped it and we did something else here? So we're going to have to display different amounts grouped together, right? Because these all have the same value here. So what if we stuck them in one category that says, hey, this group here is all $7.99s, right? And I want you to tell us how many things that we have inside of here, right? So we're going to do and count the amounts. So we'll have here, we're going to have select amount, count amount, from payment, payment, group by amount, and then we'll add order by amount. Okay, and the order by thing isn't strictly necessary. We're just doing that so that they get in order. This way we do have them grouped, and we should be able to go to, what do we have, 799? Yep, 619 values. So that is the count of the amounts of things that are equal to 799. Now these do have to all be unique, right? Or otherwise it's going to group them all together. And so when we group something by the amount, we say, hey, everything that has this value, put it in one group, and then you can have other things that say count the amount. If I got rid of this, we'd see what would happen here. Okay, it has all these things, but we don't get any real information about it, right? It's just a total list of the different kinds of amounts, total groups, and again, we'd be able to count the distinct amounts here if we didn't group it. And so this one is where they were above 599. If you're like, hey, that's a different number than earlier. If I just got rid of this and ran it, it would be 19 different kinds. But it's useful to be able to put that count amount in there because that will tell us how many things are in there. So if we're asking ourselves, hey, just add a quick look here, right? What are our most popular price levels? $4.99 was by far the most popular price value, right? More people bought that than anything else. Almost nobody bought stuff at $9.98 because it's a weird price. And $11.99 was very expensive. Only 9 people made purchases of things that were at that value. So if we're a company, right, we want to be focusing on the $4.99 stuff, the $3.99. Those ones are really popular. Even the $2.99 is very, very popular. And then the dollar stuff. So our cheaper side of things is probably where we're ultimately making more money because we have so many more people purchasing it than the $11.99 and the upper tier price ranges. So again, these are just things you could look at and make those judgments from that. All right, so that's our first group by. Let's make a query to display customer IDs with the summed amounts for each customer ID. So here we'll have select customer ID and sum the amount. And so with these, a lot of these ones, so this first half, we use these aggregate functions, and those are fine, but it's more useful to use the group by and then use the aggregate functions in order to put things into categories and have other data attached to it, right? So this time we're going to sum the amounts for each customer ID, but we're going to group it by the customer ID. So we're going to do from payment, and we're going to group by customer ID. There we go, customer ID, order by customer ID, and we'll do descending. Okay, and so this time, now we have the sum amount of what customer ID number 595, Terrence. How much did Terrence spend altogether? Terrence spent $110.71 at our store, right? And often things like this will be separated, so you can't see all of them at once necessarily. Mostly for like privacy kinds of things. So you'll have your customer ID and you'll have a separate table that connects the customer IDs to the names just to kind of separate those kind of things a little bit. But in this case, we're able to see that because this is a fake database. All right. So we did our sum amount, and now we are on a query to display customer IDs with the, oh, did we do this one? With the summed amounts. This is a separate way of doing the same thing. Okay, no, it's the same thing. You could also have, instead you could put amount customer ID instead of that there. And that will end up actually scrunching it together for you. We'll sum it. But it doesn't quite do exactly the same thing. It looks similar, but it's slightly different. And but you'd be able to at least access the same kinds of data. Just a different example of the group by, but I prefer having the sum in there and being able to see it that way. Generally, obviously it depends on what the situation is and what it is you're trying to do. All right. Yeah, so that'll work. That will work. That's what we got. The other things are like weird examples from a class that they're not unique. So this is all you need to know. There you go. I will see you in the next video. This is the end of the first kind of document, the first subcategory here, and we'll move on and look at ERDs and how our data is related and how to actually make these kinds of databases and do that ourselves. So it should be pretty sweet. We'll see you in the next video. Onward.